Okay, number 34 says Kevin graphed a linear function y equals 25 plus 5x, which represents his saving plan for tickets to the Texans game. He will save $25 from his Christmas money and then $5 each week, x, from his part-time job to have the amount of money y he needs to buy the tickets. If Kevin saves $10 each week instead of $5 combined with the $25 Christmas money, how would the graph of this new line compare to the graph of the original line? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the original one here, and it was 25 plus 5x. And then I'm going to write the new one. And it is going to be y equals still 25, but instead of $5 per week, it's going to be $10 per week. Okay, so now we're going to flip over to our calculator. Let me go ahead and just clear this off. All right, so I'm going to go to the calculator part right here, and I'm going to type in our two equations, and we're going to compare to see what the graphs look like. So the first one was 25 plus 5x, and I'll hit graph, and we can see that. And then I will do a second one, and this one is 25 plus 10x, and I'll hit enter. And hopefully we can tell. So it's a little hard to see, but let's go back to our questions and see if we can narrow it down. So if I go back, it says the line for the new function would be the same as the original. Okay, are those the very same line? No. So we know A is not it. Then it says the line for the new function would be parallel to the original line. Well, is that parallel? Can you guys see that this down here is wider than this up here? So I don't believe it's going to be parallel. Then it says the line for the new function would be less steep than the original. Remember, this was the original one, and it's saying this new one is less steep. So again, a little harder to see. I don't know if you guys can tell, but this one doesn't look less steep than this one. I think this one is steeper. Okay, so I don't think that's going to be the correct answer. And then D says the line for the new function would be steeper than the original line. And I believe that one's going to be it. So D is going to be the correct answer for number 34. Okay, 35 says if 3 comma y is a solution to the equation 5x plus 3y equals 21, what is the value of y? All right, so that's telling us that this is my x value. Okay, so this is my x value, and I'm trying to figure out the y. So that just means I just need to replace this with my x value, and I can figure it out. So if I say 5 times 3 plus 3y equals 21, we have several things we can do to that. We can do it by hand. We can do lots of things in the calculator. I think I'm going to go to the calculator and put it in InSolve so we can practice that. So let me clear this. We want to go back to Scratchpad. Okay, InSolve was menu 3-1, and my equation was 5 times 3 plus 3y equals 21, and I'm solving for y, so I'll put comma y, and I hit enter, so it looks like my answer would be 2. So the y value is going to be y equals 2. Okay, let's look at number 36. It says, given the functions f of x equals 3x plus 1, solve for the independent variable if the dependent variable is 5. So independent is going to be the x, dependent is going to be the y. So if we're solving for x, given the dependent variable is 5, that means my y is 5. So again, remember the f of x, that's just a fancy way to write a y. So we're going to replace that y with 5. So I will have 5 equals 3x plus 1. Again, we can solve it by hand, or we can just go put it into InSolve. Might as well practice InSolve while we're here. Okay, can we see enough? Let me see. Let me erase some of this. Get this out of the way. Okay. All right, so then we're going to go to menu 3-1, and I'm typing this in right here. So it was 5 equals 3x plus 1, comma, x. And my answer is 1.333 repeating 3. Okay, so do you remember how we changed this? I can go to menu, and then number 2 is numbers. So I want numbers, and then I'm going to go to approximate to a fraction. And then it comes up with this weird 5e negative whatever. Okay, so then just hit enter, and it changes it to a fraction for me. So it's going to be 4 over 3 would be the final answer for that. So I would be writing x equals 4 over 3. And there would be my answer. Okay, 37. Which value of y makes the inequality 2 times y plus 3 greater than or equal to 3y minus 5 true? Okay, so when it's an inequality, you guys, I just like to do it by hand in case we have to flip the inequality sign. So I'm going to distribute to eliminate my parentheses. So I will have 2y plus 6, and then I have greater than or equal to, and then my 3y minus 5. Okay, I need my y to be on one side. I prefer it to be on the left, so I'm going to subtract on both sides to get it off the right side. So 2y minus 3y leaves me a negative 1y. And then my next step would be to move my 6 over to the right-hand side. And I do that by subtracting. So this is gone. It leaves me a negative 1y greater than or equal to a negative 5 minus 6 is negative 11. And then I do have a negative number here in front of my y, so I'm going to divide by a negative 1 to eliminate that coefficient. Negative 11 divided by a negative 1 is a positive 11. But the big thing here, guys, is I divided by a negative number, so that means my inequality sign is going to flip. So instead of greater than, it becomes less than. So now this is what we're looking for over here. It has to be y is less than or equal to 11, and that looks like B is going to be the correct answer. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and look at number 38. We are solving for the variable x. That's the only variable we have in here. So honestly, I think the easiest thing is let's put this in an InSolve, right? So, okay, wait, let me get rid of that. And let's pull up the calculator. And let's type. Okay, I'm going to delete all that stuff, clear it all off. All right, so if we are putting that into InSolve, I'm going to go to menu 3, 1. My equation was 8x plus 4 parentheses, 4x minus 3 close parentheses equals 4 parentheses, 6x plus 4 close parentheses minus 4. Let's make sure I type all that right. 8x plus 4 parentheses 4x minus 3 equals 4 times parentheses 6x plus 4 minus 4. Good. Okay, so don't forget comma. And what's my variable? X. Enter. So again, a no solution found. You guys remember what that means? It means that no matter what we put in place of my x, it's not going to work. Okay, so no solution found. All right, let's move on. Let's do number 39 while we're here. It's going to be the same thing. I can just do, put it in InSolve. So 3, 2, 1. Sorry, menu 3, 1. Sorry, moving too fast. Menu 3, 1. Okay, so here we go. 5 parentheses x plus 3 close parentheses plus 9 equals 3 parentheses x minus 4 close parentheses plus 6. Again, did I type everything correctly? Plus 9, 3. Okay, looks good. Comma. My variable, again, is x. Enter. So my answer comes out to be x equals negative 15. Alrighty. Let's go back to our problems now. So we got 38. We got 39. Let me move it up a little bit. Here we go. Number 40. So number 40 says, given f of x equals negative 4x minus 7, find f of 3 and f of negative 7. Okay, one more time. F of x just means y. Fancy way to write a y. So f of 3 is a fancy way to say x equals 3. f of -7 is a fancy way to say x equals -7. So all I have to do is replace my x with whatever this number is in parentheses and then solve. So I've got -4 times 3, which is -12, minus 7, which turns out to be -19. If I replace it with a -7, I'm going to have -4 times -7 minus 7. So -4 times -7 is -28 minus 7, which will give me a -35. Okay? Okay, 41 says, write the equations for the following graphs. All right, so we just have to pick out our y-intercept and then figure out our slope. So if I go down, it looks like it crosses here. So my y-intercept is going to be at +4. My slope is going to be -1, 2, 3, and then over 2. So -3 over 2. So my equation is y equals -3 over 2x, and then +4. Okay, my next one, I am crossing at my y-axis at 2. And then my slope, if I go to my next point, it looks like it might be here. So I'm going to go up 1 and then over 2. So a +1 over +2. So it'll be y equals 1/2 x plus 2. Last one, it is crossing at -1. And because it's a horizontal line, my slope is 0. So -1. So I just simply have to write y equals -1. If it's a slope of 0, guys, I don't have to put 0x because anything times 0 is 0. It's gone. So I just have to say y equals whatever my y-intercept is. And I am done with that. Okay, number 42 says, Hooke's law states that the distance d that a spring is stretched by a hanging object varies directly as the mass m of the object. So varies directly. If the distance is 20 centimeters when the mass is 4 kilograms, what is the distance when the mass is 8 kilograms? So we are comparing the distance d to the mass m, right? So I'm going to put the distance compared to the mass. Can we just set up a proportion for this? Because it starts out then, the distance is 20 centimeters when the mass is 3 kilograms. So then it asks, what is the distance? So I don't know what that's going to be when the mass is 8 kilograms. So I can solve this proportion. Again, I can do a couple of things. I think it's just easier. We have a calculator. I'm going to put it into nsolve. So again, here we are. I'm going to go to menu 3, 1, and I have two fractions, so control divide to make my division bar. So I've got 20 over 3 equals another fraction bar, the letter D over 8, and then this time it'll be comma D, because that's the variable I have, and my answer will be 53.333 repeating. Remember, we went to menu, and then number 2 for number, and 2 for approximate to fraction, and then we hit enter again. So we end up with 160 over 3. So I pull that back up. So my answer here would be the distance is going to be 160 over 3.